Hey everyone, and welcome to the sixth roundtable discussion for this season of the Adonis Project. In this one, we are turning up the heat in our competition prep. At the point of this conversation, we were 6 weeks out from the first show. And then for Steve, he was 9 weeks out from his first show. So this is when it starts to become not just a fat loss phase, but now it's a competition prep. So we talk about what potential side effects, well, quote unquote side effects that we are starting to feel a little bit at this point, what we can expect from the journey and how challenging it's going to get and how we're going to deal with that psychologically. And then just like the stuff about competition prep and getting very, very lean that nobody talks about, and like what is the actual cost of getting to very, very low body fat levels. So we talk all about that very transparently. We talk about how we're going to manage those things, the mindset and everything surrounding that, and how we're going to handle it. So I'm very excited for you to check out this episode. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, please subscribe. That would mean the world to us. And of course, if you want to completely transform your physique, we do one-on-one coaching, comprehensive one-on-one coaching. That's what we specialize in at Truth Body Systems for both fat loss and muscle growth. So if you want to level up your mindset while getting in insane shape, then we're there for you. All right, let's dive into this episode. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another roundtable episode. And I want to say this is the second last roundtable before show number one. So I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of an overview of where we're at in the process right now. And I hope everybody's having an awesome day so far. And thank you so much for tuning in. So we have today is March 13th. Okay, today's March 13th, 2024. This is how the show schedule is going to go for those that don't know. April 27th, I will be competing with Munene and our other competition prep team member, Brody. April 27th is our first show. And then Steve is going to join us three in the second show, May 13th, I believe, if my brain serves me correct. So we are, I guess, like 6 weeks and 9 weeks out or something like that, 6 and 9-ish.
Yeah, I think it's 6, 9, 22.
Yeah, 6, 9, and 22. Yeah, and the last show
not
in August.
Not that you're counting, right?
Yeah.
Have it on the board.
So this is the pivotal point in the journey for a lot of reasons, and I'm just gonna preface this by saying like everybody's physique has kind of like turned the corner. You know what I mean? On like going from like okay, things are looking good to like boom, things are looking great now, and I think I was just talking about this with Steve before we hopped on here, and we were comparing, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but we were comparing our physiques from last time. We were like 2 years ago exactly to this date, and similar body weights, but the physique is completely different. And I can show you after we hop off to Munene if you're curious to see Steve's, but like his body fat percentage is probably like maybe like 4% less, but he's at the same body weight. It's insane. So it just goes to show you the building phase and also why you can't compare body weights too much. But I'll get into that kind of stuff later. But first things first, we'll go left to right again. Steve, you're on my left. How are you guys doing? Give me any like life updates. What's going on right now?
Well, I guess since the last one, things have gotten a lot cheerier, a lot sunnier, both inside and outside the mind, right? So things have been good. Like, we've just been sitting on a little bit lower calories for the last month, and I've just been pretty tuned in. We've upped the cardio a little bit, and you know what? I'm just in a pretty good groove. Like, the progress pictures are starting to show a little bit more definition. Crossed that. I've realized my threshold of really seeing some good progress is about 160 pounds, and I've kind of been tapering just underneath that. So it's exciting right now. Like I said, workouts they're coming along. Nutrition's been well. Workouts, walking steps have been really good, and I've just been in a good cruise, right? Definitely feeling a lot better than I did 2 years ago when we went through this process. I don't know if it's a little bit less stress. I don't know if it's the fact that we've done it before, but no, you know what? Everything's got out of that gross, dark January, the dark days there. And it's just been nice to, spend more time with the family outside, get some well-needed vitamin D and just cruise along.
Right on, man. I love that.
Awesome.
I think it's cool because every time you prep and every time you do a fat loss phase, even it gets easier and easier and easier. Number one, I think it's an improvement of systems. You create better systems in your life to handle this. Number two, you know your body a lot better. Okay, so you can just handle everything a lot better. And like we have prior data, so our decision making for your training and your nutrition can be a little bit smarter. And number three, you just become more resilient. You build your ability and your durability to handle this. Like the first time you do fat loss phase is like the first time you ever felt any sort of bit of hunger or ever had to like not eat as much as you wanted. You're like, wow, this is a new feeling. I've been in an abundance of food for the last, I don't know, decades, and this is my first time like, you know, feeling what it is to be calorie restricted. So
well, that's it.
right?
And being calorie restricted for 3 months, 4 months, right? That's you know, not just going on a couple of leaner days. And I know Munene's touched on it in previous podcasts about developing the strength coming out of some of these challenges, and it definitely feels that way because 2 years ago this time I felt so much more stress. I felt out of my league. I didn't feel all that good with the physique. Like there were just a lot of question marks still sitting this, and less than just over 2 months out of the competition, I felt like I'm like, what am I even doing here? You know, I don't belong here. This isn't my world, and this is a totally different atmosphere, totally different outlook this time. So it feels good right now.
I like that, man. I like that.
I guess it's also because it was foreign, right? Whenever things are foreign, it's a shock to the system. My lighting's changed. Sorry, it's a shock to the system. But then now that you've walked that walk before, you've been in the environment, you've immersed yourself in it. You have that sense of familiarity. So it's different. You've leveled up, and so just because it's foreign, whenever we do something
leveled
new,
up, right?
yeah, exactly. Hit the nail on the head. But that's all.
Right on, man. I like it. Munene, how about you?
Yeah, all's good, man. We're same as Steve. We're doing well. We're enjoying the journey. Like I'm just so excited. I always tell Parris we're being fueled by a lot of excitement. So it's just so super, super fun. Loving the process, the ups, the downs, just really immersing myself in it all. I think physique PR for sure for me. I know I've never been this lean with this much size combined. So definitely a new physique PR for me. But in terms of how everything's going, we're just in a flow state. You know, it's as I talked about in previous podcasts, the thought process of the time delay between thought and action has really diminished for me. It's like, okay, we're waking up, we're doing this, we're going on the treadmill, we're coming back, we're eating our food. It's like, I'm shocked by how much momentum can just be generated from this process. So I can't complain. I'm super excited.
Right on,
you get into that routine, right? Everything just becomes routine. All the minuscule stuff, you've been doing it so long, you're like, this is how the day's gonna go. And it goes.
Exactly. And even though you feel tired, you do it, and then you're like, I still did that, but I was wrecked. But I still did it. It's like, and it's almost like you look back, you're like, I still did it, but I was fatigued as hell. What? And it just shows the power of having routine and momentum. Because you're just
I know. I hit the end of the workouts, and then I've got to do a 15-minute bike, and I'm like, that's garbage. I'm not going to do that. And then all of a sudden, that 15-minute bike is over, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's it. It's done.
Each workout's an accomplishment. Each meal's an accomplishment. Each day is an accomplishment. Like, I don't know about you guys, but every time it's like the end of the day, I'm going to bed. There's a famous saying that I've told Munene before. It's like smiling with tired eyes. And I find I get such almost like a dopamine hit when I finish my workout, and a dopamine hit when I finish my day, because it's like another day is down of operating in this state. And I think that's kind of a cool feeling. And it's building, as we talked about, a lot of durability and a lot of resilience that you can push into other areas of your life, and just shows you what you're capable of mentally, because our body can handle a lot, but our mind is typically what gives out first. And if we can close the gap between what our body can handle and what our mind can handle, then you're operating at a whole new level, man. But most of the time we stop, not because our body can't handle it. It's just because our mind, it hasn't leveled up to that level yet.
Very true.
So I think this is a cool point in prep, though. Like I would say for me, last few months, like it was pretty smooth sailing in terms of, like, yeah, dieting is not always the most fun thing ever, but like it was pretty easy cut until I probably hit like past the 170 mark. Like if I was not competing, I would have probably stopped the cut like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Like that's a perfect beach lean spot. I could maintain that with effort. With a little bit of effort, I could maintain it. I feel good. Training is still great. Like no kind of disruption in lifestyle, stuff like that. But then recently I just crossed into that 160s. My lowest weight's like 168.4. And then now it's like, okay, now I can feel the prep feels start to kick in, and some of those side effects from competition prep just start coming in a little bit. Like I was talking to Munene the other day. It's like I had, like 3 weekends ago, I went away on a mentorship. I invested in like a mentorship trip, more of like coaching mentorship, business mentorship. And I was traveling, and my whole routine got thrown off. And I ended up having, because of flight delays, I stayed awake for like 24 hours. And then I woke up at 3:30 in like BC time, and I only went to bed in Toronto time at 5 a.m. So I was awake and traveling for a very long time. And that was not ideal. And then the weekend after that, I helped 3 different people move. And then the weekend after that, we did 2 full days of moving plus 2 client meetups on the same weekend. So previous me, yeah, that's tiring, but I can handle it. But the fatigue cost of doing that while also starting to dig in with the prep, I noticed was much more drastic. Like at the end of last weekend, like I was tired, and not like physically tired. I was like a different kind of fatigue that like I've only experienced a few times. One of the times was when I was juggling the business and my other full-time job, like way back when. That was one of the only times I felt that kind of fatigue. It's a different kind of fatigue. It's not like, oh, I had a long day. It's like I am like drained, right? I took 2 naps on Monday. 2 naps. Ooh. So I think for me, it's just like acknowledging that I need a little bit more rest than I usually would give myself. And that was that recent change. I know I'm going on a long ramble, but I think it's important to say is like, I'm realizing now it's like, I have to be efficient with everything else I need to get done, because I can't have any efficiencies that are wasting energy that I can't expend, because I need that energy to recover. And I also, on the weekends, I might need to have a bit more downtime, like not booking my weekends as full as I usually would, or different things like that. Right. So it's just acknowledging that, like, okay, as I get into a territory which my body might be a tiny bit uncomfortable with leanness wise, I just have to be a little bit more, give myself a bit more grace. And just fatigue management has to be in place. I can't get away with just kind of sending it in all aspects and just expecting that there's not going to be a fatigue cost on the other side. Because we also talked about this a while ago too. It's like a stressed physique doesn't really respond or look as good. So stress management is one of the boxes that we have to check right now. And fatigue management is one of the boxes that we have to check right now. So
definitely.
Yeah. So long spiel, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. But objectively, again, this is a different type of physique than I've had before. I think within 2 weeks, I would say within 2 to 3 weeks, I'll be at a new level of leanness that I haven't touched before, most likely. But right now I'm at a new physique PR in a certain way of like my proportions and the density I have at this body weight, I would say.
Yeah, definitely physique PR, man, for sure. Definitely.
Okay.
Like, yeah, when even like if you look at your 2022 photos, you can definitely see like you can see the changes for sure. Like they're evident.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate that. So
what's up.
We're flipping the switch right
Steve's
now.
too.
Yeah, we'll show you, man.
Yeah, we were comparing some pictures from basically this same time 2 years ago, and we were thinking. I was thinking it was like 5 pounds heavier, and we pulled back the weight chart, and it was basically the exact same weight, but I am 2 different people. So
literally,
yeah. So the PRs are coming. Everybody's putting something out this year, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, As Price said, we flipped the switch.
This is the flipping of the switch right now. This is it. And like, I know Steve is like, okay, you got maybe like 9 weeks ish, but like, 6 weeks is when it starts to get real. It's like, oh shit, excuse my French, but like things are coming in, like this is game on, man. This is all those things that we talked about like way back when, like those are the things right now that were happening. Like this is that dig in phase where it's like, okay, this separates the those who are like can handle it and those that can't. And I was telling Munene as well, as there are a ton of people that stop a competition prep. Like there are a lot of people that say they're going to compete and don't finish the journey. Like a lot. They don't advertise it, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that don't finish this process.
I remember you saying last time you had at least 3 or 4 friends that were going to do a show sometime in around when we were doing it, and then all of a sudden they just fell off the map. Like 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out, a month out, they were just done. They were like, nope, no more. And you're like, yeah. This is something you got to really finish. Like you can't just do it halfway. If you want to have a good result, you've got to go to show day, right? Like you can't just stop 2 weeks out and see what comes, right? You gotta put in the work right up until the day of, and then even the day of, like there's all that work of, or the 12, 24 hours before the show, where you're still thinking, well, how much should I eat now to look full but not over full? And like the show doesn't really, like the prep for the show doesn't end until you're glazed on stage.
It's true, man. It's true. Maybe we can talk about, I talked about a little bit, some of the side effects that I was getting. And again, I know Steve, like you're a bit farther up from the show, so maybe you don't have these yet, but like some of the symptoms that I've been feeling, do you guys have any sort of indications on like certain symptoms that you found recently have started to kick in? Like, as I told you before, like just the fatigue or like the slight bits of lethargy. Hunger hasn't really been an issue for me for some reason, as much as it has been before. Sometimes I get a little hungry, but it's more the fatigue and the lethargy, I would find. That's the difference I'm starting to see. My training is still going well. My strength is still pretty solid, objectively. Sets feel a lot harder and they take a lot more out of me, I'll tell you that. But like baseline level of fatigue, I would say has definitely come up. That's the main thing I've noticed. Have you guys noticed any quote unquote like side effects as we get closer to these shows?
Yeah, what have you noticed,
Well,
Steve?
I haven't, like I felt some of the general fatigue, but nothing out of the ordinary yet. But my wife will tell you that I've certainly gotten a little shorter. My patience seems to be the first thing that starts to go when whether it's just the lack of calories, I don't have a lot of extra, all that extra energy that you expended, that you took for granted before. I don't have that, right? Like we're running on lower calories, lower carbs, lower everything. So you don't have extra. So we're losing, we're trying to lose weight every week, and so we don't have extra for the things that aren't working out the way that we should. So yeah, fatigue is there a little bit so far for me. Definitely, like you said, the workout sets are harder. Some of the bigger movements I've really noticed, like my squats they don't feel as good as they did 10 pounds ago, and with more carbs, and there's more rest in between each one. But I find, like, mentally, even though I feel like I'm in a better spot than I was 2 years ago, I'm kind of at that verge of having, I'm not going deep down into I'm not in Hans Zimmer mode completely yet.
The
Having to
dark
really
music.
get zenned out. Yeah, I'm not into that mode yet, but I definitely feel like my patience and my attitude are at a cusp of not losing control, but certainly I don't have the same patience for things that aren't working out well. That's probably the biggest thing that I've had so far.
Gotcha. How about you, Munene?
Interesting. Yeah. I'd say I exhibit similar things to you, both of you. Definitely rest times between sets for sure have increased drastically. Hunger, to be honest, I'm not like, it's not been that bad. Yeah, I'm hungry sometimes, but like I'm not like, oh, like I'm dying, which is a good thing. I say that now, but who knows, man? Give me 2 to 3 more weeks. Who knows? I may be in, who knows? I don't know. Right now, it's been pretty manageable. And I'd say, yeah, like this 6 week marks, like that's when I started to notice, like, okay, now it's like the speed's picking up, But a bit of like dips in energy levels from like 3 p.m. I get 2 a day. Beforehand, I remember telling Parris I would only get one, like a certain dip at around 2 or 12, and then I'd be like, oh wow, okay. But now I get 2 a day. One at around like 11, 10, another around like 3-ish. And then towards the evening, it's like my energy levels are back. It's so weird. It's so weird. So it's like the afternoon dip, but then sometimes in the evening I have more energy. And then before bed, I'm just like potato. So it varies. But I'd say that's mostly it. Other than that, I'd say those are the main 2 things.
Yeah, man.
It really,
I think
really shows that you got to plan out your meals, eh? Like those dips. It's not just
exactly.
It's not just the the fact that you had a big meal at dinner and now you're tired. It's you got to balance out your calories from the moment you wake up to when your last intake is going to be and how you need to function that day. Like, if I eat a bigger breakfast when I first get up, well, now I'm going to stretch that out. So then maybe my energy level starts dipping at around 11 or 12. Whereas if I've been able to kind of push that back a little bit, maybe I can have a more productive morning, and then that dip in energy doesn't hit till 2 in the afternoon or 3. And
yes,
it's hard. It's hard. You can't just eat a bunch of candy and and get that energy going again.
It's true. It's true. I'd say, oh, another one I forgot is like, yes, training performance. Like my strength has definitely, funny enough, my squat performance is better than when I was in a gaining phase. And part of that is probably due to like me just being, let me simplify, more coordinated at that movement because I've done it frequently. So my technique has really increased a lot. So I've become more efficient at that, and therefore I can move a lot more weight. So that's actually probably gone up, but I don't want that to go up anymore because I'm not trying to get injured. So
yeah,
pushing strength, and that's always the first to go. I remember incline Smith, I was doing like 315 for 7 reps at the peak of my gaining phase, and now I'm doing like 245 for 7. So it's like, or 8. So it's like it's gone. But hey, we're not here to get strong. We're here to keep the stimulus good on the muscle and make sure that we're retaining it. So yeah, I need long rest times. Pushing strength on, pulling strength is still pretty decent. Leg strength is pretty decent. So that's what I'd say. Maybe it's the glutes that help me. Who knows?
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but it's always the pushing strength that tends to come down as you lose body weight. Everybody's really strong when you're eating so much food and you're like sitting at 20% body fat. Like, and that's why people say like, talk about benching numbers. I'm like, get lean and let's see how those, or like the other day, I know it's example. Yeah, for sure, man. Or like everybody's got something to say, right? One of my buddies who's a personal trainer at the gym I work at, and no disrespect to him if he's listening, he does this out of like just like jokes. Like he doesn't actually really mean it that much because we're friends, but he loves banter. And he just like, I know he comes up to me, he's like, I know you train legs, but like your legs are tiny. I'm like, okay, like first of all, like thank you. I like why would you need to tell me that? I don't tell you you're holding a lot of body fat. Why do you need to tell me my legs are small? But you got to keep in mind, my legs are just really lean. So like they look objectively small, but without like pants on, they look pretty like shredded. But like I don't think people realize how much body fat they're holding. And once you get lean, trust me, your legs will be small too. You know what I mean? Like it's not. And again, we're buddies, so it doesn't really affect me what he says, like stuff like that, right? But like people will think these things, but they don't know. It's like, wow, you look small in your t-shirt. It's like, you get this lean. Let's see how big you look in your t-shirt. You know what I mean? It's like people do not have as much muscle as they think they are. They just haven't gotten lean. They're just holding more body fat than they think. Like most people think, oh yeah, if I lost like 5-10 pounds, I would be as lean as you. It's like, well, let's try 35-40. And then we'll come and have a conversation. You know what I mean? I don't mean that to be mean. I just, until you've gotten lean, you don't know how much body fat you have to lose. And it's probably a lot more than you think you do to be shredded.
Oh, I'm a prime. Well, I definitely didn't think that much.
Sorry? Yeah, you're down what, 30 pounds, Munene? Almost?
Oh, probably. What's today? Let me, yeah, 31 pounds. And I remember telling Parris, I was like, I was carrying a lot more. First of all, I knew I was carrying a lot more body fat, right? But based on the regions I store it in, my abdominals, you could still see my abs in a gaining phase, like peak gaining phase. I still had some abdominal visibility, right? A decent amount. And Parris was like, dude, we're probably gonna have to chuck like 40 pounds off you. And I was like, that much? Really? And he's like, yeah, you'll be surprised. In my mind, I was like, oh, I'll probably be good if I chuck like 30 pounds. Nah. Like, we're trying to go for some next level conditioning, and this isn't like a regular fat loss phase. This is now beach lean. There's a difference between a regular fat loss phase and then this prep. Because I think I've been leaner than this, if not on par, in 2020, where I was 200 pounds at the end of my last cut and I stopped, but not with the same size. So when he presented me with the idea that, okay, I'm going to have to be a lot leaner. I'm a prime example of someone who thought, oh yeah, if I just, lose this 30, I'll be good.
Yeah, I'll be fine. And then
yeah. And I'm like,
and you're still digging.
Now, and we have to dig more. I'm like, okay, 197 to 195. I'm 205. Another like 10 to 8 to 10 pounds. So it's like, oh.
And the first 10 is a breeze compared to the last 10.
Oh, but, yeah, the first 10 didn't feel like anything.
It's walk in the park if you know what Bud suppressed. But I'll tell you, that's what really separate. Like on stage, the people that gave themselves that extra few weeks to dig versus not, it stands out. And you can always be a little bit leaner. You can always get a little bit leaner. And sometimes I'm like, okay, we're getting lean now. And then I'll see like some photos of like some professional natural bodybuilders. And I'll be like, wow, I have a long way to go. Like the conditioning standard is just mind boggling. Like these guys are getting so peeled. And I know, Steve, this is your second run around. Maybe, you're not as like religious about this stuff as we are, but like we're definitely going for like a level of conditioning that is more elite level conditioning. And whether I reach that or not, I don't know. I've never been at that like elite level conditioning, but I'm sure as hell going to try. And I know that's kind of in Munene's head as well.
Oh yeah.
But like there's a cost to getting that lean, not only in terms of like, psychologically it's very, very challenging, and like physically it's very challenging, and also like on your life even is very challenging. But there's a cost in terms of like the time too. Like you're not just like digging in for a few weeks. Like as you get leaner and leaner, like you're probably suffering for like a couple of months to get like to that elite level of conditioning. So different than a normal fat loss phase for sure. And this is where you also, going back to kind of what Steve was saying about like, okay, maybe you have less patience and stuff like that. It's like, as you get leaner and leaner and leaner and you're deeper in diet, you have to be more aware of how you are approaching your life, the people around you, how you talk to people, everything like that, because it's very easy for you to stop being a nice person to be around. And maybe it's not that you get like hangry or whatever. Like I'm pretty good at taking a step back and like thinking about things before I say them, or like, looking at things like I have the self-awareness. I think that I catch myself, typically, not always, but I'll catch myself. But I think also it's just like, are you giving enough energy to your relationships? That's the thing that I think I need to watch. It's like, because like, for example, like if I'm hanging out with Tara, like at the end of the day, and that's like our catch-up time, like I got to make sure that I leave a little bit of energy for her. Because if I spend all my energy into my day when I'm already on like low energy mode, like what does she get? The residual? She doesn't deserve that, right? So it's just like being aware of that and knowing that like you still have to show up and still make sure that you're intentional about like interacting with the people around you and like being there, like there up here for them, you know?
Oh, definitely. Like and we've talked about this before, and I certainly feel it again this time too, is that this is a very selfish process, right? Like you said it, Parris, Munene, you said it, like it is a selfish process, right? Like we are not in this for anybody else. We as a team are helping each other get through it, but at the end of the day, we're all in our own heads, in our own space, doing our own thing for our own goals, right? But yeah, there's still a life to live out there, and it's not just it's not just going to affect us, it's going to affect everybody around us. So your work, your relationships, your the neighbors in the street, like who knows, right? Like the stranger at the grocery store who steps in line, or all of that stuff. Like you can't just shut it all out. It's hard to balance sometimes, and if you're certainly a little bit more emotionally fluctuating already, then by the time you hit this these stages in the last couple of months, it's definitely harder to control. But yeah, saving some energy for the ones who need that energy, like you said, your relationships, like for me, my wife and kids, and maybe some for my coworkers too, if but definitely more for the home life, right? And that's at the end of the day, it's still all about what you're going to be like when you come out of this show. If you push everybody away because you're it's one thing when they don't like you to be around because you don't eat anything fun and you don't go out for beers, but it's another thing if you're just miserable and crusty and kind of ruin some of that those relationships, right?
Yeah.
So true, man. Like you said it. The self-awareness that this thing gives you is like, if you're already a self-aware individual, by doing this process, 10 times that, like literally 10 times that. You understand your energy levels, you understand your emotional levels, you understand, how you respond to certain situations, how much you can tolerate, how much you can tolerate, what's too much, what's too little. You're just very aware of so many variables that contribute to the puzzle, and it gives you that sense of confidence to know if you are being a little bit irritable. Okay, take a step back. It's okay. It's because of this reason, or it's because of this. I haven't eaten since this time, so this is probably why I'm irritable. Or I'm on low calories right now and have some diet fatigue, and that's why I'm probably I was thinking that thought. I'm not going to say it to that person, but that's probably why I don't want to have a conversation right now, but I need to catch myself. It's like, these are just some examples of myself, right? And so being through this process, I would say I'm naturally self-aware, but this has just taken it to a whole new level. So it's like you definitely have to be cognizant of that, and it's a very powerful process. So
yeah,
that's just something I wanted to share as well.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah. On a side note, Munene, I think in the next couple weeks you're going to enter diet face mode. I think.
Yeah, look at your faces, man. I'm still carrying more. I'm like, what? When am I going to be a skeleton, man?
Oh, you're pretty close. You're getting there. Like, what
give it another few pounds, you'll be there.
Yeah, one of those last posts you put, I remember seeing, flipping back and seeing one from, ages ago, and then then one from recently, and you're like, yeah, you don't quite have that haunted look yet, but
not yet.
Oh yeah, I remember my gaining phase face. I'm just saying, never again, guys. Never again. You know the emoji, the moon? You know that circular moon? I was literally like the moon. I cannot not happening again.
It's funny, dude. It's so funny. I think that, like, again, it's hard to see your face change. Like, you don't, again, because you see yourself so gradually changing, like, you don't really think about it until you really compare. The same thing with your physique, but like, you won't even think your face is going death mode face until you look back at the photos. Just because, like, looking in the mirror right now, like, I'm like, oh, my face looks whatever, but like, in a few weeks, I'll still say, oh, wow, okay, my, like, whatever face. And then you'll look back, you'll be like, what the heck? I was like a Skeletor man, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like interesting, that perception. I was even saying to Munene the other day, it's like, people are also looking less lean to me now. Like, your whole perception on everything just gets skewed. Like, everybody at the gym looks like they're holding a lot more body fat than they did like a while ago. Have they actually gained body fat? No, it's just because you get leaner and your perception gets weird, So it's all like these weird perception things, and you almost have to just like be aware of these things and like know that they're happening and know like I try to create, okay, what is likely going to happen? Okay. Likely we're going to have a little bit less energy for a day going forward. Okay. Likely these are the things that you're going to have to do in your life to like fatigue management better. Okay. These are the things that you're going to probably feel at certain points. And like just having that predictability and then also just being at peace with whatever symptoms. We're talking about all these things and it might make competition sound like a super sucky process, which, you know, sometimes it might feel like that, but it's really not. It's such an amazing process that will completely change your life in a positive way if you do it properly. However, I think just being at peace with whatever side effects come from prep and not trying to fight them. It's like, for example, if you are a little bit hungry or whatever, not trying to like completely fit the biggest volume of food ever just to try to fight that feeling. It's just like, this is part of the process, accept the side effects, the price of admission of this process to your goal. And don't try to like create any friction with it. It is what it is. Accept it. Be at peace with it. And don't try to think about fast forwarding the weeks. It's like, oh, 6 more weeks of this. Oh my gosh. It's like, no, enjoy it. And what I was saying as well is like, let's have fun with this process, man. Like, let's have fun with it. Let's enjoy the suck. And let's enjoy when it starts to suck. Let's enjoy it. And let's enjoy all the challenges in this process. Because that's what we're here for. That's what we signed up for. And if we're just going to allow ourselves to be miserable the whole time, then what's even the point? So like find enjoyment of the challenge.
No, well, and even just talking with guys at work, and you know they razz me pretty good about not joining them in, you know, eating all the delicious food and stuff, and you know my what they call boring meals. But then we sit back and kind of reflect. I'm like, over the course of this process, because I was 183 pounds and I'm just under one. Like, I think I was 158.6 today, but I'm like, regardless of everything else, like I've lost what, 20 plus pounds just by, you know, just by doing this, like just by doing the simple process of input versus output. And I feel leaner. I look leaner. I like how I look in the mirror. Like all of these things. Yeah, is it going to suck over the next, you know, 6 to 9 weeks? Sure, a little bit, like you said, but we embrace it. Like nobody said that this is going to be easy. But, you know, I remember last time going on walks and just being like at my wit's end, like just going on a walk, having some music in, getting my steps and being, I don't want to say miserable, but just like so emotionally unstable, like a song would come on and it would just hit me right in the feels. I'd be like, what am I crying while I'm out on a walk on a sunny day? Like, what is happening? But it's like every little piece of it is just something else, right? It's another piece of the puzzle, another, like you said, price of admission, and none of it is awful enough to make this not worth the process. Like, at least not worth an attempt, right? You know, there's nothing that is overwhelming. Like, yeah, you have a busy weekend, Parris, helping people move and realizing you didn't have all the energy to do all that, but you did it. And you just know that this is how it's going to be. If I have a busy weekend planned, I'm going to be pretty bagged. And somewhere in there, I might need an extra nap, you know? And it's not about caving and dumping a plate of lasagna down your throat, right? It's okay. This is going to be how it is. I have my day planned out. This is what we have been practicing. This is what we've been doing since, you know, every step of the way. We've lowered the calories, lowered the carbs, lowered everything, and we've just adjusted our day. And we're like, this is how it's going to be. I will eat now. You know what? Maybe I'll change my plan around. I'll have a snack now, and then I'll have a meal a little bit later because I know I have something else I have to do this afternoon. Like, it's just the minor adjustments that you make, but none of it is so bad that it is. Like you said, it's not to scare people away. Like, yeah, it is hard. Dieting is hard. Consistent exercise is hard. If it wasn't hard, people would do it all the time instead of looking for quick fix pills and, you know, things on the internet that are just going to get you ripped and shredded in 8 minutes. Like,
yeah.
And that's so true. Like, sorry, go ahead, Parris.
I'm just going to say one thing and then I'm going to let Munene, because I know he has some knowledge to drop on all of us. I was just about to say, you know, what's even harder for me would be finishing this journey and knowing that I could have given it more.
That's the worst feeling.
That is the worst possible feeling. And I've had cuts like that when I was younger, where I ended a cut. I was like, I'm not happy with this. And that is the worst possible feeling, more than any sort of lethargy, hunger, low calorie feeling, not eating my favorite foods, like whatever. That is like the worst possible feeling I could have at the end of this. But so like nothing,
regret.
Regret.
Yeah.
Anyways, Munene, if you go for it, man. I know you got.
No, you were talking. You were saying something. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Yeah, I was saying that's the pain of regret, man. Have you heard? It's like that quote that's like, choose your pain, the pain of growth or the pain of regret, or something like that. He's like, if you think the price of winning is too high, you know what else is higher? The regret, like the price of regret. So it's like because that burdens you. You hold on to that. I could have. Imagine reaching the end and saying and being filled with I could have. I wish I would have. That stings, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, especially when it's a hard journey, right? Like a hard journey that you didn't get where you needed to be. Like it's one thing if you're kind of coasting along and you're doing fine, you're training for something else, and what, maybe I could have thrown an extra workout in here and there. But when you are struggling to get down to where you are and you don't make it where you need to be, you're like, I suffered a lot, but I didn't get it, right? Like I didn't hit it.
You said it. And there's a difference between I could have, I should have, because I didn't know, versus having the knowledge. Because if you say, oh, I could have done that. Now that I look back at it, next prep, I've learned. Okay. Or I should have done this at that time. But I didn't have the knowledge then. So I'm going to implement it next time. But if you already had the protocol, you know how you felt, you know what the expectations were, but you just chose not to, that's what it stings.
That's a good point. That's a good point. If you just didn't, if you were just ignorant and you just didn't know what to do, or you didn't know what you should have done, you're right. That's a completely different thing. But knowing you have the game plan there and you just didn't execute it, like, ouch, man. Like, what? I don't know. It's just like that's a shot at your character, Anyways,
it is, and it goes back to what you two said right now. Like, you both said something like doing hard things, number one, and then Steve said making those adjustments, like with Parris on the weekend, or like you said, Steve, with you, how you with your energy, and this is the plan. I got to adjust it and just make sure that I'm doing the things. And that actually made me realize about a conversation I had with a client about when you do hard things, you're depositing into your bank of confidence. And this is what I told him in his check-in. I went ahead and I said, look, you've had a hectic week, right? He had like an insane week. We've all had those. His schedule changed, meetings changed, his whole time changed, but he still did all his gym sessions. His adherence was greater than 80% with his macros. He still hit his steps and he showed up for himself. And I told him, dude, this is amazing. Like, I gave him a huge pat on the back because I said, you have just deposited into your bank of confidence because you've shown yourself that you can still take action and stay consistent when things are inconvenient. And he's like, you're right. It was a crazy week. But I said, look what you did. And he's like, damn, that makes me feel a lot more confident. And so it's like, whenever you do something hard, whether you have to pivot and change something where situations are not ideal, you are literally depositing into your bank of confidence. And then guess what happens when you face something else in the future? You can withdraw from the bank. You can withdraw,
like,
but
hey,
if they're back,
I've done this before. I can do it again, right? And
exactly, because you have that confidence, you're making deposits, and you have enough confidence capital to then withdraw and use when you're faced with another situation that's uncertain, when you're faced with another inconvenience. But if you don't do the hard things and you don't embrace the hard things, how are you going to make deposits into your bank? If you want to purchase that thing, literally, we're talking about finances here. You go and you're like, oh, I don't have enough money to make the investment because you've not made any deposits into the bank. You have zero cash in there. But so it's the same thing. How are you going to make the investment if you have no cash? So you need to make a deposit into your bank. And that's every single time you do a hard thing, or you adjust, or you embrace a sucky moment and do things when it's inconvenient, you are literally depositing into your bank of confidence, and you can withdraw from it. Because the harder the things you do, the account just grows. Just putting deposits in. That's cool. Awesome, man.
I love that analogy.
So
I love that analogy.
I think that's why we're embracing this, man. We're accepting it. We're not trying to fight the emotions. As we said, it's not a problem that needs to be solved. It is what it is, and it's okay that we feel like that, and we accept it for what it is, and it's making us better human beings.
Absolutely, man. make it stronger people for sure. That can like imagine by the time you've done like 8 to 10 competition preps, like the kind of person that you become and the kind of resilience that you've built and the kind of character development, and like you are probably like unfazed by anything. You know what I mean? Like you just are operating at such a level of durability that it's just like I don't know. It's just like I know there's that classic thing like our society's getting softer, and obviously I have my views on that, which I won't get into nowadays. But like you will never be that person that is considered soft, because like you're doing hard things again and again and again, and purposely doing calculated hard things again and again and again just levels you up to an extent that is just like you want to do more hard things because you see the character development that happens from doing hard things. So anyways, super cool, guys. Last thing I know we could kind of go on this for a while, but I do want to chat about like the next little bit of time that we have going. So let's chat about, okay, physiques. Let's do a recap of like where we're at, and then next, I guess, month. So that will be, by that time, it'll be like 2 weeks out for Munene and I, and then like, and then like, and then like 5 weeks out for Steve. So like, where are we at right now? Where do you think, next phase comes in?
So right now, I know we touched on it earlier, but like looking at where our kind of comparing being the same time out 2 years ago to basically the same time, I'm feeling so much better in terms of where my physique is. I feel like I'm already leaner. We've got more definition through the chest. I actually feel like I've got lats now. My back has always felt like a stronger point, but I feel like we really are starting to show off the delts a bit more. I haven't lost as much out of the arms as I thought I was going to by this point. Like I feel like all the definition is starting to show up. I don't have walking around abs at 230 pounds like Munene, so I'm excited to start to see them coming through a little bit. And yeah, so like right now, I was telling Parris just before we got on, like every once in a while I hit the perfect light and the perfect thing, and the mirror's right at that angle, and I'm like, this is it. This feels good. So physique-wise, I'm feeling like we've made, we've crossed over a little threshold there. As for the next month, Parris and I have talked about the plan, and it is just going to be status quo, right? We've got good good macros that we're sitting at. We've got a good weight loss phase.
Rate of loss.
Yeah, rate of loss. Things are just moving right now, and we had toyed a little bit at one point about trying to jump up into that first show with you guys at the end of April, and just given the way where I was sitting, we just went back to original plan, the May. So I don't have to rush the same. I don't have to feel like I'm going to go on stage with something less than, like we were just talking about, the no regrets, right? Like barring anything drastic over the next little while, this next month should really peel off a few more. If I can get down into the mid 150s and really see where things are sitting, and I think that sets us up for a really nice spot, and maybe you got something to look forward to at a couple of high days, a couple of refeed days in there, because it's been a little while since one of those. But we're just cruising along. That next month should be just the same as this last month, hopefully.
Yeah, I'd say in the next month, if we can get you into that, mid to low 150s range, maybe hit some 154s point something, I think we'll be in a perfect position. Maybe like low 154s. But yeah, we hadn't been using many refeeds or any sort of non-linear dieting just because we just had to like get the body fat off, But now, because we have a little bit the time, we got an extra few weeks, we'll probably throw in some refeeds just for like social flexibility we chatted about, as well as just kind of giving you that little breath of fresh air as we kind of coax you down into the level of leanness. But I think that I agree with that, Steve. I think you've just like the last month, you really turned it up from an execution perspective. So I'll give you props for that. And it shows. So I think it's a good, like, hey, that little bit of extra oomph can really pay dividends in this process.
Well, that's it. We didn't adjust much, but January there wasn't a lot of movement. It didn't feel like. I mean, I know we talked about it. It was a bit of a down month, but from through February, it was already. Oh, hold on, I'm going to get a work interruption here for a second. Hopefully that's not too loud on you guys.
It's okay.
Right under the speaker at work. So yeah, we ramped it up a little bit in the in the last month. We've tacked on a few bikes. So I bike after every workout, either 10 to 20 minutes depending on the workout. I've been hitting 10,000 plus steps every day for the most part. And yeah, you're right. It has made a big difference. This has been a good, I've got more momentum now than I ever have. So this next month is hopefully looks exactly the same.
Oh yeah, man. For sure. Keep it going, dude. Doing awesome.
What about you, Mr. Munene?
Yeah, things are moving as well. I can't wait to be under 200. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that. I really, really am. I'm 205 right now. So this past month it was good. It was good. There were 3 weeks where my body weight was being stubborn, and we made a slight adjustment, which is expected. So we made a slight adjustment where my expenditure went to 10 to 12K, and we reduced by 150 calories. So yeah, 150 to 200 caloric adjustments. So that's good. And boom, did the trick. I'm seeing new levels of leanness in this next month. I expect to be around, I want to reach definitely 199, 200 there, low approaching there. The goal for April 27th or around that time frame is 197 to 195, within that range. So I guess a month from now will be, what's the date today? March 13th. So yeah, I'd expect 13th, to be at April 14th. So that'll be 14 days, almost 2 weeks, 2 weeks out, not a little less. I want to be maybe 200 ish. Yeah. 200, maybe. Yeah, 200 ish, slightly below.
We also,
that's where I'd want to be.
For sure, man. We also threw in two when we made that adjustment. I also threw in 2 high days for Munene a week, so he has 2 high days as his anchor days, and then dig in during the week. And if we need to lower low days, we might. I'm not going to make any I don't think I'm going to touch your expenditure, to be honest. We might make one more adjustment, but yeah, first show is coming ready. Second show is coming absolutely peeled. And the third show in August, which we'll talk a lot about way later because we're getting way ahead, is coming undeniable. It's ready. You know what I mean? I don't know what I said for a second. It was ready. Peeled. And then third one is undeniable in terms of conditioning. But yeah, I think that's super cool, man. And this is the fun part, boys. This is the fun part. For me, I think, within 3 weeks, I'll be at a level of leanness that I don't think I've ever been at. I think within 3 weeks, I'll be at a level of leanness that I don't think I've ever touched before. Also be at a physique that I've never touched before. And I'm ready to see what that looks like. I know this is going to be a challenging few weeks for sure, just keeping up with the workload and also that, but I'm also going to try to really, and I say this now and I'm horrible at this, but not work as much on the weekends and not plan as many things and just use the weekends to really bring down stress and bring down fatigue. And I know I get too excited. So I'm okay, let's do some more work or something, but I'm going to try to give myself that grace. And I think I'm going to have to unlock a new mindset that I don't think I've ever unlocked before in order for me to make that last push to get to that level of conditioning that I haven't seen before. It will take a new mindset that I haven't touched on before, because even last time I got pretty shredded, I didn't have as many responsibilities as I have now. I didn't have as many emotional commitments as I have now. And I think that every level, as that famous saying, every level brings a new devil. And I got to face this devil. This is another final boss that I haven't played in Mario yet. And I'm excited to challenge myself and come out of this a whole new guy and a whole new person. And this process has showed me that most of us are operating at a level that is nowhere close to the level that we can actually operate at psychologically. And we have so much more capacity to do than we think we do. Like like we set these limits for whatever reason based on what we think society tells us the limits are, or limits that we put on ourselves, whatever. But like you just keep pushing the buttons on those limits and pressing them higher, and then you're like, shit, where is the ceiling? I don't know. But it's a lot higher than you think it is, and you can handle a lot more than you think you can. So I think that's what I'm excited to keep learning and see that next final boss that I haven't faced before in Mario, and see what stops I have to pull out to beat him or her.
Yeah, you need the little you reach the checkpoints and you get the question marks.
Yeah.
You're unlocking those, man. Those are new skills. If you think about it, it's a game. Because every time you reach one of those little things, you get a new superpower.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. Self-awareness skill. You're adopting it. Yeah. That's a pretty cool analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, we're going to leave it there because we're coming up onto an hour. For anybody that listened this far, we appreciate you.
Really.
Obviously, we take this process seriously. Like I know I don't know if I can speak for both of you, but we're putting our heart and soul into this process. Like literally, like giving everything into this. And yeah, so we appreciate you guys following along a lot. If you want to get in kick-ass shape, you know where to find us. Yeah, let's just keep crushing it. And that's all I gotta say.
Let's go. Thank you for watching, everyone. We look forward to seeing you
thank you.
in 3 weeks' time. Bye.